The galaxy had long been a battlefield. Star systems, once teeming with life and commerce, had become war zones where the conflict between alien civilizations raged endlessly. Planets that had once been vibrant hubs of culture and trade now lay in ruin, their surfaces scarred by unending warfare. The interstellar community, once hopeful for a peaceful coexistence, was now locked in a relentless struggle, leaving many planets abandoned and forgotten. On one such forsaken planet, the devastation was palpable. This planet, once a thriving ecosystem, now resembled a wasteland of shattered cities and crumbling infrastructure. Its skies, once clear and blue, were now perpetually overcast with dark clouds, casting a dim light over the land. The surface was a harsh terrain of rocky outcrops and scorched earth, marked by the remnants of battles fought long ago. Abandoned vehicles and derelict structures littered the landscape, silent witnesses to the chaos that had unfolded. Amid this desolation, a small group of young alien orphans struggled to survive. Their appearance was as varied as the galaxy itself, with each child bearing the marks of their respective species. They were a motley collection of wide-eyed youngsters, their clothes ragged and faces smeared with dirt. Their makeshift shelters were cobbled together from scavenged materials, offering minimal protection against the harsh elements. They huddled together for warmth and safety, their bond forged through shared adversity. Their daily life was a series of challenges. Food was scarce, often reduced to foraged scraps or salvaged remnants from the ruined city. Water was a precious commodity, obtained from makeshift collection systems that struggled to capture the occasional rainfall. The orphans' interactions were a blend of cooperation and conflict. They worked together to maintain their meager existence, but the stress and fear of their situation occasionally led to quarrels. Despite their young age, they displayed a resilience and resourcefulness born of necessity. Their situation was dire, with escalating threats encroaching on their fragile existence. The once routine scavenging trips grew increasingly perilous as scavengers from rival factions began to roam the area, attracted by the planet's ruins. The orphans, already exhausted from their daily struggles, now faced the looming danger of hostile encounters. Additionally, the weather grew more unpredictable and severe, with violent storms and extreme temperatures becoming more frequent. These conditions exacerbated their plight, turning survival into a constant battle against both the environment and external threats. In the vast expanse of space, isolated on a remote outpost, a lone human pilot existed in solitude. Their outpost was a modest spacecraft, outfitted for long-term survival but lacking the comforts of civilization. The pilot's daily routine was one of monotonous tasks and introspection, punctuated by the occasional mission or communication. The once vibrant personality of the pilot had become a shadow of its former self, worn down by years of isolation and the weight of past regrets. The pilot's isolation stemmed from a tragic event in their past. Once celebrated as a hero in the galaxy's major conflicts, their name was renowned for acts of bravery and skill. However, a single catastrophic battle had altered their path forever. In a decisive confrontation, the pilot's fleet was ambushed, resulting in massive losses and a failed mission that was meant to be their crowning achievement. The aftermath of that battle was not only a defeat, but a scandal that led to their disgrace. Accused of tactical errors and failures, the pilot was stripped of their rank and honor, cast aside to live in obscurity. The weight of this fall from grace and the guilt over the loss of comrades haunted the pilot, leaving them in a state of perpetual remorse. During a routine check of deep space communications, the pilot received an unexpected distress signal. Initially dismissing it as a potential false alarm or a standard malfunction, the pilot's curiosity was piqued by the urgency of the signal. With nothing to lose and driven by a lingering sense of duty, the pilot decided to investigate. Setting a course for the source of the distress call, they prepared for a journey into uncharted space, hoping to find a purpose beyond their self-imposed exile. As the spacecraft approached the signal's origin, the pilot could not shake the feeling that this mission might offer a chance at redemption, or at least a way to confront their demons. As the pilot's spacecraft descended through the thick, turbulent atmosphere of the desolate planet, the view through the cockpit revealed a landscape of bleak devastation. The once vibrant surface was now a panorama of grayish-brown rock and debris. The harsh environment tested the spacecraft's systems, with frequent turbulence shaking the vessel. The pilot navigated carefully, compensating for the erratic weather patterns and ensuring a safe landing amidst the crumbling ruins. Upon landing, the pilot stepped out into the oppressive atmosphere, immediately feeling the planet's cold, dry air. The ground was uneven and treacherous, strewn with remnants of past conflicts. The pilot moved cautiously, scanning the area with their equipment, while trying to stay alert for any signs of life. The vast emptiness of the landscape was unsettling, adding to the weight of isolation that had long defined the pilot's existence. The pilot's efforts to locate the source of the distress signal eventually led them to a small, makeshift settlement. The structures, hastily assembled from salvaged materials, were barely visible against the backdrop of destruction. As the pilot approached, they spotted a group of young aliens, their appearance matching the descriptions from the distress signal. The orphans, initially hidden and wary, emerged cautiously from their shelter upon noticing the newcomer. The first encounter was fraught with tension. The orphans, their faces etched with a mix of fear and suspicion, reacted defensively. They were unsure of the pilot's intentions, their previous experiences with strangers tainted by hostility and exploitation. The pilot, recognizing their apprehension, approached slowly, making non-threatening gestures to avoid startling them further. The language barrier compounded the difficulty, as the pilots struggled to communicate their peaceful intentions. Understanding the need to break through the barriers of mistrust, the pilot began taking deliberate steps to build rapport. They offered food and water, items that had become precious commodities for the orphans. The pilot also provided a temporary shelter, setting up a small protective barrier against the harsh elements. They remained vigilant, watching for any potential threats that might endanger the orphans. Gradually, the orphans' initial fear began to wane as they realized the pilot's actions were aimed at their welfare. Small gestures of kindness and consistent, non-threatening behavior started to bridge the gap between them, laying the foundation for a fragile trust to grow. The pilot began a thorough assessment of the orphans' situation. Observing their makeshift shelters and limited resources, it was clear that their conditions were dire. The orphans were malnourished and lacked adequate protection from the elements. The pilot's immediate focus was on acquiring and allocating necessary supplies, food, water, medical aid, and a means of transport. The next step involved determining how to safely evacuate the orphans from their precarious environment and into a more secure location. The planning process was complex, given the hostile conditions of the planet and the pilot's limited resources. The spacecraft, while equipped for survival, was not designed to carry a large number of passengers. The pilot had to optimize the available space, ensuring that the orphans would have enough room while also accommodating essential supplies. The pilot mapped out a route that avoided areas known for frequent scavenger activity and severe weather, aiming for a safer, less traveled zone where the spacecraft could land. Overcoming the challenges posed by the planet's harsh conditions was a significant part of the plan. The pilot used scavenged materials to reinforce the spacecraft's landing gear and adapt the vessel's systems to better handle the unpredictable weather. They also set up a temporary safe zone around the landing site to shield the orphans from immediate threats and hostile encounters. The plan required precise timing and coordination to ensure that the orphans would be evacuated efficiently before any potential danger could arise. When the rescue operation commenced, the pilot implemented the strategy with careful execution. The first task was to transport the orphans in stages to minimize exposure to the harsh environment. The pilot coordinated the loading process, ensuring that each trip was efficient and that the orphans were kept safe from the increasingly aggressive scavengers and deteriorating weather. As the operation progressed, the pilot faced several significant obstacles, including an unexpected sandstorm that delayed the evacuation and an attempted intrusion by scavengers seeking to exploit the situation. The pilot managed these challenges with a combination of tactical maneuvering and on-the-fly problem-solving, ensuring that despite the setbacks, the rescue mission proceeded with minimal disruption. The initial phase of recovery for the orphans and the pilot was marked by a mixture of relief and adjustment. After the harrowing rescue, the orphans were placed in a makeshift medical bay on the spacecraft, where they received immediate care. The pilot ensured that each child was treated for injuries and malnutrition, providing them with clean clothing, nourishing food, and medical attention. The orphans, though exhausted and disoriented, began to recover physically as their basic needs were met. As the days passed, the pilot focused on creating a more comfortable environment for the orphans. They set up a communal area where the orphans could rest and interact, and established routines to help the children regain a sense of normalcy. The pilot also made an effort to engage with the orphans on a personal level, learning about their individual backgrounds and cultures. Through small conversations and shared activities, the pilot began to bridge the gap between them and the children, fostering a sense of camaraderie and mutual respect. Moments of bonding emerged naturally as the orphans and the pilot spent time together. The pilot learned to appreciate the diverse cultural practices and traditions of the orphans, finding common ground through shared experiences and stories. The children, in turn, began to see the pilot not just as a rescuer but as a compassionate and empathetic individual. Simple acts, like sharing meals or participating in storytelling, helped to build trust and understanding. The pilot's willingness to embrace the orphans' customs and listen to their stories played a crucial role in forming these connections. However, the journey was not without its challenges. The orphans' emotional scars from their time on the desolate planet began to surface, manifesting in nightmares and bouts of anxiety. The pilot, recognizing these signs, worked to address their psychological needs by providing a supportive environment and encouraging open dialogue. Additionally, the pilot faced logistical challenges in navigating the spacecraft's limited resources and ensuring that the orphans' complex needs were met. Despite these obstacles, the pilot's dedication to the well-being of the orphans remained unwavering, and their efforts to foster a supportive and nurturing environment helped the children begin to heal from their traumatic experiences. After the successful rescue and subsequent recovery, the pilot and the orphans embarked on a journey back to a central hub in the galaxy. The spacecraft, now fully stocked and equipped, made its way toward a bustling space station known for its interstellar diplomacy and humanitarian efforts. The journey was smoother than the previous harrowing experiences, and as they approached the station, the orphans looked out at the lights and activity with a mix of awe and apprehension. Upon arrival, the station's personnel were initially taken aback by the sight of the orphans. The station, a hub of various alien cultures and political entities, had rarely seen such a direct display of compassion from a lone individual. The pilot's actions quickly garnered attention and praise from the station's officials and inhabitants. There was a notable shift in the perception of humanity, as the pilot's story spread throughout the station. The once derided human, now celebrated for their bravery and empathy, became a symbol of compassion and resilience in a galaxy often marred by conflict. As the pilot and the orphans settled into their new environment, they were provided with resources and support to help them integrate into the station's community. The orphans were given access to education, medical care, and counseling services. They began to adapt to their new surroundings, finding solace in the stability and opportunities available. The pilot, having fulfilled their mission of rescue, was offered a role in helping the station's outreach programs, using their experience to advocate for other displaced individuals. The conclusion of the story marked a period of significant growth for both the pilot and the orphans. The pilot found a renewed sense of purpose and redemption, their actions proving that compassion and bravery could indeed effect meaningful change. The orphans, having transitioned from survival to stability, began to envision a future filled with hope and possibility. The experiences they had shared fostered a deep bond between them and the pilot, and their journey served as a testament to the potential for empathy and human connection to transcend even the harshest circumstances.